Hi, my name is Beth Burgess, author of The Recovery Formula and The Happy Addicts. Just want to talk today about, does your sobriety date actually matter? And there's a few different answers I'm going to give to this. I don't actually know my sobriety date because firstly I live a life now where, I don't ever want to go back to drinking or, that life. So I'm not counting the days anymore. For me, sobriety is forever. And I find it a bit annoying sometimes when people insist on knowing your sobriety date, because it's almost like asking, what your old drink was or something. It's completely irrelevant. It's completely irrelevant. What really matters is how you got sober, how sober you are. It's not the length of your sobriety that matters, it's the strength of it. That's a really important point. So, anyway, I've had several sobriety dates. In my first attempt at sobriety, where I phoned my parents and told them, I'm going to stay sober for like a year, not understanding addiction whatsoever, or the fact that that would just not work out. I actually did manage to achieve a fair stretch of sobriety, but it was like crap, basically, because I had done no work on myself, no work on recovery. I wasn't in any way recovered, I was just white-knuckling it. So it kind of didn't count anyway in some ways. And then I went through a period of trying to understand addiction, trying desperately to sort of relapse, not to relapse, but constantly relapsing anyway. And my sobriety date changed more often than my socks, It was like, it just constantly changing. And then, I had some times where I was really working on myself, starting to learn, understand. I was still relapsing. There were points in, the relapses were, the times between the relapses were getting longer. And that's actually was a much more valuable time, for example, in my sobriety than the first bit where I did nothing at all. So the dates kind of don't matter there, So what I would say is, it is sometimes useful, especially in your early days, if you want to know your sobriety date, if you want to start counting it, because it can help you mark out things, especially the first year, because then you know that you can pass through a load of different milestones, like, the first Christmas sober, the first New Year's sober, the first birthday sober, all these sort of things that come up every year, you can do sober. So it's really good like that. And if you want to track it yourself, that's absolutely fine. Just don't hold fast to it completely, because you'll be so disappointed if it does change for any reason. Because I've heard this before where people, they say, I was sober for 2 years, I was sober since X date, and I've just relapsed, I've lost it all, and and they get really upset about it because they've lost their sobriety date, especially if they had a tattoo of it. So the thing is, these things happen. As long as you learn from a relapse, obviously we don't want to relapse, but if you learn from a relapse, you haven't actually lost all of that sobriety. You learn a lot of things in those times. So, don't stick fast to it as if it's like, the most important part of your recovery, because it isn't. The most important part of your sobriety is not your date, it's how strong your recovery is. And don't ever feel pressurized to tell anyone your sobriety date if you don't want to. That's really important, because it's not a bloody competition, do you know what I mean? The point is that we all want to be sober, we all want to be as recovered as possible. So, if you want to share your date, that's absolutely fine. If you want to celebrate it, that's wonderful as well. But, just bear those things in mind. Hold it gently. Don't hold it fast and hard and say, this is my sobriety date, because that's not the point. The point is how recovered you are. So if anyone ever asks me my sobriety date, I always say to them, why don't you want to know how I got sober? Or why don't you want to know, how I'm recovering, or how I recovered? That's far more important. So never ever stop asking me about that. But yeah, don't bother asking me sobriety date. Like I said, don't remember it. Okay, as far as I'm concerned, and this is something you can say to people as well. If you don't feel comfortable revealing your sobriety date, then just say, I'm sober today, and that's what matters. Alright? Okay, take care. Speak to you soon. Bye.